Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Grace Opari and I wish you a very happy new year. In this year 2024, I promise to be more interesting and I promise to bring you more educative and informative video on this particular channel about learning and studying in Canada. So if this is the type of content that you like, I kindly implore you to subscribe to this channel. So in this video, I am going to talk about how to bring your family to Canada as an international student. Your family, including that is your spouse and your children. So unlike other countries where beginning 1st January 2024, international students are no longer allowed to bring in their dependents, that is their spouses and their children, Canada still continues to open its gates to welcome international students and their families. So if you are an international student coming to study in Canada and you are wondering, is it possible for me to come to Canada with my spouse and my children? Yes, I'm here to tell you that the IRCC or the immigration rules in Canada here is very much friendly and open to welcoming the families of international students. Here in Canada, the Canadian laws are very much particular about keeping families together. And so they have pathways or options that allow international students to come into the country freely with their families. So that is what I'm going to discuss today. I already have a video on how to bring your spouse to Canada as an international student. So in this particular video, I'm going to focus on how you can bring your children to Canada. So there are two ways you can go about this. You can either decide to apply together with your children at the same time that you are putting in your study permit application, or you can decide to do your application alone, and then when you arrive in Canada, you put in the application for your children. All of these are options available to you to decide on, but it is also based on how you are capable financially to be able to sponsor your children together with you. So what I'm trying to say is that if you have the financial capacity to be able to put in the application for yourself and your children at the same time, you can choose to do that. But if you do not have the financial capacity to be able to do that, you can also choose to do the application just for yourself. And then when you arrive in Canada, you finally put in the application for your children. Before 2024, if you were to apply as an international student just for yourself, you needed to prove an amount of 10,000 Canadian dollars for your living expenses and then your first year tuition fee. And if you were to apply for your children, you were supposed to provide 3,000 Canadian dollars for each child that you put on your application. However, in 2024, things have changed and the money has increased. Your proof of funds has increased. In 2024 and going forward, if you're applying just for yourself as a student, you need to be able to provide an amount of 20,635 Canadian dollars. That's a lot. If you are to apply for an additional child, making 2 people, you need to provide proof of funds of 25,690. If you are to provide for 3 people, that is yourself and 2 other children, then you may have to provide or proof funds for about 31,583. If you are applying for just yourself and 3 other children, it is 38,346 Canadian dollars. So it means that as the number of people you are putting on your application are increasing, the amount of money that you need to prove as funds for your application also increases. So you need to take all of this into consideration when you are deciding whether to apply together with your children at the same time or for you to arrive before you apply for your children as well. So what are the documents required when you are putting in an application for your children? I'm going to take this from 2 angles. The first one is if you are applying for yourself and your children at the same time. Obviously, this is going to be an online application. I highly recommend that you do all your applications online and not paper applications. So you have to create an account for yourself. And then whilst you are creating the account, you are going to be asked whether you are going to apply for any other people. So we respond yes. and then you put in the details of your children. When you do that, the system is going to generate for you the required documents that you need to provide for your application. So you need to create your account. Then you also need a digital photo for all of you, or let's say a passport picture that meets the requirements of the Canadian government for every person that you are putting on the application. Your passports are also very necessary. And then you need your financial statements, your bank statements, any other thing that you want to use as proof of funds. You put all of that also into your application. Then you also need your proof of relationship. It's very, very important. When you are putting somebody on your application, you should be able to prove the type of relationship you have with that person. So in this case, since they are your children, the best thing you can use to prove your relationship with your children is the birth certificate of your children, because the birth certificate of the children is going to have your name on it as the mother or the father. And then you should also have your application fee ready. Note that the number of people you are putting on the application also determines how much you pay for your application fee. So for instance, if one person is to pay 150 Canadian dollars, and then your biometric is 85 Canadian dollars, so one person is going to pay 235 Canadian dollars. If you are 2 or 3 people, it means that the amount of money is going to increase. So you need to take all of that into consideration. However, if you are going to take the other option where you arrive before you apply for your children, then these are the documents that you are also going to need in your application. Just like the first one, you will need to create an account for your children's application. You will need their digital photo, their passport, your proof of funds is also important. The proof of relationship is also equally important, their birth certificate. But because you are now in Canada and you already have a Canadian visa, and you also have your Canadian study permit, it is important that when you are applying for your children from inside Canada, you attach your Canadian entry visa as well as your study permit. Again, if you have been able to rent a place and then you have your name on the lease agreement, it is important that you also add your lease agreement to the application to prove to the visa officer that you have a place ready to accommodate your children if their visas are granted for you. So the next question is, what type of visa are you going to apply for your child? There are 2 types of visas that you can apply. You can either apply for a visitor's visa for the child, or you can apply for a study permit for the child. But this is going to be dependent on the age of the child. In Canada here, dependents are recognized as people who are between the ages of 0 to 22 years. Initially it was 0 to 19 years, but now it has been increased from 0 to 22 years. So children who are below the ages, or who are within the ages of 0 to 22 years, you can apply for a visitor's visa for them to come in. Once you apply for the visitor's visa and the visitor's visa gets approved, immediately the children arrive in Canada, they now become dependent on your study permit. What this means is that once the children arrive in Canada, whatever thing they are going to do here or how they are going to live here is going to be dependent on the status of you, the parents. Once you are a student studying here in Canada, your children are eligible for free public education from elementary to secondary school, and they are also eligible for free healthcare so long as you are here in Canada. The validity of their visas is, however, tied to the validity of your study permit duration. So if your study permit duration is 2 years, it means that the visas for your children or their status here is also going to be for 2 years, which means that whenever you need to extend your stay or to renew your visas, you have to renew your visas together with your children. Although public education from the primary, with like the elementary to secondary school, is free in Canada, childcare from 0 to 5 years is not free. So daycare for 0 to 5 years is not free. It doesn't matter your status in Canada, whether you are a citizen or a permanent resident or a student. You pay for childcare if your child is below the age, or if your child is between the ages of 0 to 5 years. So if you're coming in as an international student and you have a child who is not 5 years or above, then you should also be prepared to pay for the daycare or the childcare of that child. So in summary, I have talked about how you can bring your family to Canada, and I focused on how you can bring your children to Canada. So in summary, I said that there are 2 ways that you can bring your children to Canada. You can either apply for them together with your study permit application, depending on how much money you have to prove your funds, or you can arrive in Canada and then later on apply for your children. You can either apply for a visitor's visa for them, or you can apply for a study permit for them. So thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions, you can leave it in the comment section and I'll gladly respond to you. And then if you like this video, kindly give it a thumb up, share, and let's spread the good news. Thank you very much for watching. See you in my next video. Bye.